بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dearest respected brothers and sisters, viewers from around the world, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome back to Ahlulbayt TV's Muharram special show, The Life of Hussain alayhi salam. Brothers and sisters, over the last few episodes, we have looked at a number of issues. We have analysed the early years, the birth, the lineage of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, his relationship with those around him, his family, his companions. We've analysed the story of Imam Hussain in his early years of life and in the build-up to the Battle of Karbala. Of course, the location, the place where his death took place, this time 1400 years ago, and is the sole reason why we are conducting this production. Brothers and sisters, inshallah, today we will look a bit more at the history of the pre-Karbala incident, the context of what was happening at the time in the community, how Imam Hussain was preparing for this tragic day. And of course, brothers and sisters, we will look at the incidences that took place surrounding his companions in the journey to Karbala. Joining me, I'm very blessed and honoured to have Al-Hajj Mustafa Masood. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
having me. Here. Haji, just to begin, we have discussed the migration of Imam Hussain from Medina to Makkah. But before we get into that and his journey to Makkah, we know, of course, and history tells us that Imam Hussain had travelled a lot during the pre-Karbala era, and we have these dates of travel. How do we know how accurate they are? Are they even important to us, these dates and these routes?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Firstly, we send our condolences to the Imam of our time. May Allah hasten his reappearance. And to our dear viewers on these nights, the nights of the martyrdom of Abi Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam. Coming back to your question, these dates, of course, narrators of hadith and of course those that came after the ghaiba, the occultation of the 12th Imam, our scholars have taken these dates from the hadiths and they have verified these dates. Of course, these dates were either narrated by those around the Imam alayhi salam. For example, whether it's the fourth Imam, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, or whether it's the sister of the Imam, Lady Zainab alayhi salam, they narrated these dates. Or, of course, the likes of historians such as Al-Tabari, who has all these dates. And of course, these dates are important because when we look at the journey of Imam al-Hussain, and when we look at the revolution of Imam al-Hussain, a lot of questions are raised from different scholars, from different schools of faith that say, for example, Imam al-Hussain went out for power,
yes,
or which is a misconception against Imam al-Hussain, or that, for example, one main misconception is that the Shia, for example, mourn Imam al-Hussain today and they hit themselves and they cry for Imam al-Hussain because 1400 years ago they killed Imam al-Hussain, they betrayed Imam al-Hussain. But when you look at these dates and when you look at the journey of Imam al-Hussain and you put it all into one context and you try and understand the journey of Imam al-Hussain, the mission of Imam al-Hussain becomes more clear. So this is why I think it's important when we look from the time of the departure of Imam al-Hussain from Medina al-Munawwara, his hometown. We know that he departs from Medina 2 days before the end of Rajab.
Yes.
So we're talking 27th, 28th of Rajab, coming into Mecca in the beginning of Sha'ban, the 3rd or the 4th of Sha'ban. And this time frame from end of Rajab to Muharram, when his martyrdom takes place, is approximately 6 months. In these 6 months, Imam al-Hussain outlines his mission.
Okay.
Those that, for example, today come and say, Imam al-Hussain did not know of the events of Karbala and did not know he was going to be martyred. And they'd use specific hadiths taken from the Imam, or they'd use one line from a sermon without looking at the whole sermon, and they'd say, Imam al-Hussain went out for power. Or yes, or for example, when Al-Hur, for example, inshallah, we'll look at when Al-Hur stops Imam al-Hussain just outside Kufa and tells him that I have to take you towards another land. Some question this and say, Imam al-Husayn's intention was actually to go to Kufa. That was his intention. But again, Imam al-Hussein, if you look at his sermon in Mecca, he specifically says khairali, that this place where I will be killed, where my blood will be shed, has been already chosen for me by Allah, and the Prophet has told me about this.
So you mentioned, Haji, that he traveled, of course, from Medina al-Munawwara to Mecca. Now, when he arrived in Mecca, how did he use this time there? What did he do?
First of all, it's important to realize that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, his mission started from the day he entered the palace of Al-Walid, in which Al-Walid tells him that you have to give allegiance to Yazid.
Yes.
And from that day he starts by saying, إِنِّي لَمْ أَخْرِجْ أَشْرًا وَلَا بَطَرًا, that I have not revolted in a corrupt way or an oppressive way, rather I have risen up to seek reform in the ummah of my grandfather. From that day, the mission of Imam Hussein starts. And then there's the second important point, which we notice that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, not only does he take his brothers, his nephews, his family members, those that are most dear to him, but he also takes the women from his family.
Yes.
And we notice that even in Mecca, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah the son of Umar, the second caliph, stops Imam al-Hussein in Mecca, and he was there to perform Umrah. Abdullah was there to perform Umrah, and he had some business in Mecca. So when he's returning, he sees Imam al-Hussein, and he tells Imam al-Hussein that, why are you taking your family? And Imam al-Hussein clearly tells him that this is the will of Allah.
Yeah.
But of course, this is not the full answer. We later realized that the Umayyads are a sort of people that they have no end to their oppression. So Imam al-Hussein takes his family because he does not want to keep his family in Medina. And then Yazid would send those from his army to put the family of Imam al-Hussein as ransom.
I see.
And to use them against him. So that's the first reason. The second reason, of course, he takes his family so they can narrate the story to us as we know it today, become narrators of the event.
Yes.
And thirdly, he takes his family to show that I have not gone out for power.
Yes.
When people in Mecca see Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam with his women, with his children, they realize that his mission is bigger than that of the caliphate as power. That's why in Medina he holds meetings with certain leaders of tribes.
Yes.
He meets prominent Muslims that have come from Yemen or come from Iraq to let them know his mission. And he chooses Mecca because every step that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam takes is an important step in him fulfilling his mission. So he chooses Mecca, he doesn't go anywhere else because he knows that after Sha'ban and the holy month of Ramadan, we have the month of Shawwal and then Dhul Qa'dah and then Dhul Hijjah. End of Dhul Qa'dah, the beginning of Dhul Hijjah is what is when people start flooding Mecca for Hajj. So he realizes that for me to get my mission known, as he doesn't live in a time where there's the internet or there's he can announce his mission. People are all going to come towards Mecca for the Muslims to notice, and this is very important, that on the 8th of the month of Dhul Hijjah, when all the people, all the Muslimin are going towards the plains of Arafah, there's only one group that is leaving Mecca going towards Iraq, and that is raises question marks in the heads of people, in the heads of Muslims that are coming towards Arafah to perform Hajj, that the grandson, the living grandson of the Holy Prophet of Islam is leaving Mecca, leaving Hajj pilgrimage, and going for Iraq, going for another mission. So this raises question marks in their heads, as in, why is Imam al-Hussein leaving Arafah a wajib act? Even though, of course, we know Imam al-Hussein has performed Hajj numerous times, as mentioned in hadith. Most of the times that he would perform Hajj, he would do so with his brother Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, and they'd go walking.
So would you argue that, saying that, so for Imam Hussein and his family to leave the plains of Arafah on this date, when everyone's flocking towards Mecca, is it kind of a PR, I wouldn't want to say a PR campaign, but in a way for Imam Hussein to gain maximum publicity for what he's doing, so that when such atrocities take place, everyone is saying, well, Imam Hussein must have knew. He must have known.
Ahsant. I think the word used in Arabic is hujjah. the proof that if certain people are questioned, why did you not, for example, support Imam Hussain alayhi salam, or why did you not stand by Imam Hussain? The hujjah, that proof, was the fact that they saw Imam Hussain leave the Hajj pilgrimage. I mean, Yazid, when he sends his assassins to kill Imam Hussain in Mecca, he specifically tells them, kill Al-Hussein, get allegiance from Al-Hussein. If not, if you cannot get allegiance from Al-Hussein ibn Ali, then kill him even if he is hanging on the robes of the Kaaba. That is, even if this grandson of the Holy Prophet is in the holiest city, that is Mecca, next to the house of Allah, the holiest place, the most sacred place, even if he's by that place, by the Kaaba, kill him. Of course, Imam Hussain does not want to have his blood shed in Mecca. Mecca is sacred. There's a special sanctity around Mecca. So this is one reason why he decides that, of course, because of his status, that he does not want to be the reason for the sanctity of Mecca, for his blood to be spilt in Mecca. So he leaves. That's the first reason. And of course, as you mentioned, the second reason is for him to be the hujjah, the proof on the people that I am leaving the Hajj pilgrimage because I've got a mission, and that mission is more important to me than the performance of Hajj. Because and someone might ask, how can someone, say something like this? How can you say anything is more important than Hajj? But of course, if it wasn't for Imam al-Hussein and the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein, then today we would not have Hajj.
Ahsant. Haji, we need to move on swiftly with your permission.
Please.
We know, of course, you mentioned earlier that there are so many misconceptions that the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, betrayed or abandoned Imam Hussain alayhi salam in his most critical time of need.
Yes.
Now, usually when these misconceptions are arisen, we know, of course, that the city of Kufa is usually mentioned in these statements. Now, many people say that the Shia of Kufa abandoned or betrayed Imam Hussain, but indirectly, perhaps through his ambassador, Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil. Now, when we analyze the events that took place in Kufa, what can we determine? What actually took place, and what lessons can we learn?
Of course, we know the ambassador of Imam Hussain is Muslim ibn Aqil, his cousin. Of course, this topic requires, I think, maybe just a specific series just on this topic. The fact that the Shia, for example, betrayed Imam Ali during his time, or the Shia betrayed Imam al-Hussein, or they betrayed Muslim ibn Aqil. This term is factually wrong, because number one, for example, those that say, and this is an important point, those that say the Shia betrayed Imam Ali, so Imam Hussein's father, while he was the caliph in Kufa, or his army, when it was, for example, the Battle of Siffin, when they agreed to the treaty of Muawiyah and not fight. Those people have not really understood history, because first of all, the army that Imam Ali has under him is not his army. It's not the army that was established by Imam Ali alayhi salam. It was an army that was established by the caliphs before him. He has inherited this army. So they are part of the state's army. Does not mean they are Shias. Again, Kufa, when Imam Ali takes over as caliph in Kufa, the people that are in Kufa, we have a few types. We have the type that believe that Imam Ali is the fourth rightful caliph, and that the first, the second, the third are more superior than Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he is the fourth caliph. We have those that believe that Imam Ali is the rightful caliph after the Prophet, and they are a small group. These are the real Shias, the likes of Ammar ibn Yasir, the likes of Abu Dhar, the likes of Salman, the likes of Hijr ibn Adi, the likes of Habib, his father Mudahir. These are small in numbers. They believe in Imam Ali as their leader. These same small number, if they were alive during the time of Imam al-Hassan, then they were with Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. And if they were alive during the time of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, they were with Imam al-Hussein. And they were in Karbala. So those that say the Shias betrayed Imam al-Hussein in Kufa, they have misunderstood this. Maybe some of the people of Kufa betrayed Muslim ibn Aqil. We cannot deny this. This is in our history. But the actual Shia, the likes of John, the likes of Habib ibn Madahir, the likes of Abis, the likes of Burair, Muslim ibn Awsaja, this small group that, number one, most of them were Sahabis, they were companions of the Holy Prophet. Most of them were Qurra'ul Quran, as we are known. And this doesn't mean they are the reciters of the Quran. No, it means they are people that have memorized the Quran. They are people known as leaders of their tribes, the likes of Hani ibn Urwa. To quickly summarize what happened in Kufa with regards to Muslim ibn Aqil, and as I mentioned, this is quite an important topic to look at. Firstly, Imam Hussain sends Muslim ibn Aqil, and he sends a letter in which he says to the people of Kufa, after they send letters inviting Imam al-Hussein, he tells them that I will send to you إني بعثت إليكم أخي وابن عمي وثقتي من أهل بيتي. I send you my brother, who is my cousin, who is the trusted one, ثقتي من أهل بيتي, the trusted one from my family, to come and observe what is happening in Kufa. He sends Muslim ibn Aqil in the month of Ramadan. Muslim reaches in Shawwal. So Muslim, we know, reaches in the month of Shawwal. He's got the month of Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and on the 9th of the Hijjah, the day of Arafat, Muslim ibn Aqil, one day before Eid, is killed, is martyred. Within these 2.5 months, 3 months, what happens in Kufa? Firstly, we know that Muslim builds an army. We know that An-Nu'man was the caliph in Kufa. Yazid finds out that Muslim has got support. He's got thousands of people behind him. And he asks one of his aides, who's from the Christian faith, he tells him, what would my father Muawiyah do?
Right.
He tells him, I'm going to tell you something, but if you listen, then your caliphate is safe. If you do not listen to what I'm going to say, then Muslim ibn Aqil will take over with Imam al-Hussein. So he tells him, no, I would listen. He tells him, bring Ibn Ziyad from Basra and put him in place of An-Nu'man.
Was that as a governor? Or?
As a governor.
Okay.
Of course, we know Yazid doesn't like Ibn Ziyad.
Right.
But because he wants to stay in rulership, he wants to stay as the caliph of Muslim, he brings Ibn Ziyad to Kufa.
Right.
Ibn Ziyad is one of the most oppressive governors seen in history. The first thing he does is he takes a lot of the Shi'as, the followers of Muslim ibn Aqil, those that sent letters out to Imam al-Hussein, and he imprisons them. The likes of Maytham al-Tammar, for example, is imprisoned. Maytham al-Tammar was alive. The likes of Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi is imprisoned. The likes of Hani ibn Urwa is imprisoned. So some of the Shi'as are imprisoned. That's the first thing he does. Some of them are killed in public squares in Kufa.
I see.
So when people see that the followers of Muslim ibn Aqil are getting killed, what does the first thing they do? They back off, as you mentioned. They back off. And when people see the likes of Hani ibn Urwa being arrested, they back up. And of course, Kufa, it's important also to mention this very important point. Kufa is a tribal town. When the head of the tribe is captured, the tribe finishes. They do not have a leader to speak. It dissolves, as you mentioned. So Hani ibn Urwa is one of the leaders of the tribes of his family. When he is arrested, they have no leader to follow. The whole tribe itself dissolves. Of course, there was some of those people that were paid off. Tribal leaders were paid off.
I see.
But we don't say these are Shi'as. These are Kufans.
Are they? Would you call them mercenaries?
Some of them are mercenaries.
Okay.
Some of them paid off. Some of them told that if you, for example, leave Muslim ibn Aqil, you will get this land, or we'll give you this wealth, or we'll give you this treasure. To the extent that we are told the last few days before Muslim ibn Aqil salamullahi alayhi is killed, mothers would come out and pull their sons. Wives would come out and pull their husbands away from Muslim ibn Aqil and from Muslim's army, because they fear that whoever is with Muslim would be killed by Ibn Ziyad. And of course, what Ibn Ziyad did was he threatened the people. He told them that Yazid is outside Kufa with 10,000 men. This brought fear in the people. This led them to, we can say, in somewhat betray Muslim ibn Aqil. And that's what happened in Kufa.
So we know, of course, that then Hazrat Muslim was martyred in the city of Kufa.
On the 9th of the Hijjah.
After he was abandoned. And then, of course, we know that Imam Hussain started making his way to the city of Karbala. We are short on time, so perhaps I'll kind of condense my question. We know, of course, that en route to the city of Karbala, he was confronted by Hur, who we later know became a companion of Imam Hussain. Now, what actually happened when he was confronted by Hur, and why was perhaps this a significant event?
Of course, there's the journey of Imam Hussain is a fascinating journey from Mecca towards Iraq. Of course, his intention was to go towards Kufa,
yeah.
but of course, on the way in a place known as Zurud, the letter from Muslim ibn Aqil, or the news from Muslim ibn Aqil, reaches him that Muslim and Hani ibn Urwa have been killed by Ibn Ziyad. And even though some people say, you know, this is when Imam al-Hussein realized, for example, that he was being betrayed. No, Imam al-Hussein knew, because even in Mecca he says that I will be killed in a land between Nawawisa and Karbala. That's where my blood will be shed. And he says this is something that has been foretold by my grandfather and by my father. They've told me about the events of Karbala. Further, before reaching Karbala, coming back to your question, is where he meets Al-Hurr. Al-Hurr, if he had not come on the camp of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, then today we would have mentioned him with the likes of Umar ibn Sa'd and Shimr and Harmala. But Al-Hurr, when he meets Imam al-Hussein, we notice that even though he is part of, again, this goes back to the point that I mentioned. Sometimes you are part of an army, but it does not mean that your allegiance is to the leader. You are part of the state.
I see.
The state army. Again, Hur was part of the army.
In the same respect, yeah.
So he is sent out and he is following the orders of Ibn Ziyad. But Al-Hurr thinks that he is only stopping Imam al-Hussein.
Right.
But he's not fighting Imam al-Hussein.
Yes.
And I'll come back to proving this point. The first thing that why we notice in Al-Hurr is that Imam al-Hussein gives him and his army, Imam Hussein's army, give Al-Hurr and his men water. They feed them water, they even feed their horses. This of course plays in Al-Hurr's mind. Then when they go into a discussion, it's a long discussion, but just to summarize it, Imam al-Hussein, he mentions to Al-Hurr that I want to go back, let me go back.
Yep.
Al-Hurr kind of threatens Imam al-Hussein to tell him, I can't let you go, otherwise, I will fight you, or in other words, I will kill you. And Imam al-Hussein turns around and he tells him, Thakalatka ummak, may your mother cry over you. Are you threatening me, Hussein ibn Ali? Here Al-Hurr shows he understands who Imam al-Hussein is, the status of Imam al-Hussein. He tells him, if I did not know who your mother was, I would have replied with the same reply. But I know that your mother is Fatima. So he knows the status of Imam al-Hussein. The second thing that we notice in Al-Hurr, when it's prayer time, Imam al-Hussein tells Al-Hurr, you go and lead your men in prayer, and I will lead my men in prayer. Al-Hurr tells him, no, I want to be led by you. I will join your prayer. And finally, the third point, on the day of Ashura, or on the night of Ashura, when Umar ibn Sa'd decides to wage war against Imam al-Hussein, Al-Hurr comes to him and tells him, are you seriously going to fight the son of Fatima? And Umar ibn Sa'd says, yes, of course, until we cut off their hands and their heads. And this is when Al-Hurr starts thinking. And someone comes to Al-Hurr and he tells him, you are shaking. And I'm summarizing here the story. He tells him, yes, of course I am shaking. And I am in fear. أخير نفسي بين الجنة والنار. I am putting myself in a situation where I have to pick either paradise or hellfire. And he says to himself, with his own mind, this is the reform that we need to build within our own lives, when he says, and by Allah, I will choose nothing over heaven. And he goes back to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and this is on the night of Ashura, and he asks for tawbah, for forgiveness and repentance from Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And he's an example of why someone can change within seconds or hours or days. This small incident of Al-Hurr gives us an example that we shouldn't judge people because of their previous actions. As I mentioned, if it wasn't for this small moment where Al-Hurr comes and asks for repentance, then Al-Hurr would be with the likes of Shimr and Umar ibn Sa'd and Harmala. Yet Al-Hur is now with the likes of Abis and Habib ibn Madahir, and with the likes of the companions of Imam Hussain, and he has now a beautiful shrine just outside Karbala where we go and visit.
Haji, we have so much more to discuss, but unfortunately time does not permit us to do so. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. Brothers and sisters, thank you for tuning in. Inshallah, in the next episode, we will be looking more into the story of Imam Hussain, particularly the final hours, the final moments in the build-up to the Battle of Karbala. So please do join us for our next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hussain